Chale, let's roll.
चलो.
Okay, Akshay.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
तो CFOs इंडिया में नहीं बनते हैं यार, जो चार्ट अकाउंटेंट नहीं होते हैं.
अच्छा.
बहुत कम लोग हैं, मतलब इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक, ट्रेडिंग फ्लोर, जिंदगी भर मुझे यही करना है. 6.5 years of that, I said, भाई ये और नहीं होने वाला है. So a lot of startups have burned, right? Everyone burns money, but you're burning money for a reason.
Okay.
At some point, your business has to generate profit. Otherwise, like, what are you doing with all this money? Okay. First of all, don't take this title so seriously. Don't take any title ever. As all of you grow in your careers, it's pointless.
Yeah.
Unfolding, right? Look, building a business is very hard.
Okay.
It's a very, 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 very hard thing, right? But never bet against people who run organizations. Yeah. They have driven very, very, very strongly. They will, when your backs are to the wall, human being and that whole entrepreneurial spirit will always come up with an answer. In this company, we've gone through days when we had our backs to our walls. We've come out of every one of those situations. Mm-hmm. And the fundamental belief that we will come out of it is there. Chalo.
Okay, Akshay.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Pleasure to drive 40 minutes on a Saturday morning.
Okay, let's not talk about Bangalore traffic, okay? That's altogether a new thing. Okay, so let's start, since we are anyways very late. We'll start with your introduction.
Sure.
You can go ahead.
So, my name is Akshay. I've been in Bangalore for about a decade. I work at Axio, which is a digital lending startup in India. I've been with them for about 9 years. I'm currently the CFO. Before this, I was with Deutsche Bank for about 7 years. Worked on the trading and structuring side. And I worked in London, Frankfurt, Singapore, and then Bombay. In between both these stints, I did my MBA from the University of Cambridge. And yeah, I'm from Hyderabad. I'm married. I have a wife at home. My mom lives in Hyderabad, and my brother is in New York.
So Akshay, why finance?
Oh my God. I don't know. It's the one thing I've always known I wanted to do. I think back in 7th or 8th grade, we just got internet at home, and the question was, what do you want to do in life? It was like 97, 98, I think, back then, right? That's how old I am. And I went on, and we had just like discovered these search engines and all that. And I had seen the day before, I saw an ad in the TV, in the newspaper, right, which said like investment banker. It was an ad for some Panasonic TV or LG TV or something, I can't remember now. But I was like, what is investment banking, right? And I just Googled, or I don't know if it was Google also back then, I don't remember, some search engine. And this whole plethora of information came my way, which was investment banking, mergers and acquisition, derivatives. And I was just like drawn into this world from then. And then from there it was just there.
So if not finance, do you think yourself doing anything else?
Honestly, the only other thing I had and still have equal amount of passion is probably playing cricket. So I'd probably try to do that. Back then, unfortunately, there was no IPL. So it was a very hard choice. In fact, I still remember my parents took me to ex-Hyderabad, the captain's house. He was a distant relative. To explain why I should not take up cricket because there's no money in it.
Shouldn't that be opposite?
Yeah, I know. If only they knew IPL would happen, life would have been different probably. But, you know, back then, in 98, 99, you know, Ranji also didn't have that kind of money. Mm-hmm. I was just like really passionate. Both my brother and me used to play a lot. So it was a long conversation. But yeah, probably that. I would have probably done something with
but
cricket.
I think you're a little bit late to pursue
A little is like an understatement. Probably 20 years too late to pursue anything in, to actively play. But yeah, no, it stopped. The beauty is the thing now with 2020 cricket, like eventually at some point, I'd love to merge cricket and finance together as well, because there's so much to do with IPL, the analytics that come through with it, etc. So yeah, maybe down the road, who knows, you can go work for a IPL franchise or do something in sports related. It's always fun.
Okay. We will talk about personal finance to some level. Sure. I think, you know, everybody really needs to manage their money at some level.
Yeah.
So what, according to you, is like, how do you approach, first of all, let's say we'll just take you only as an example, how do you approach your personal finances?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Like a boring question.
No, it's a good question, because like there's no right or wrong answer for it, right? Like I've always, the way I look at life, the only wrong answer is for you to go bankrupt, or for you to have so much debt that you're not able to live your life, right? These are the only wrong answers. Everything else is what you need to do. So the way I approach it is, what is my relationship with money, right? What does money mean to me? Is money a mean for me to do everything I want in life? Is it a means to an end? And the end is freedom, time to relax, time to explore things I like, not necessarily do a 9-to-5 job because I need the money. Different people have different things, right? So the way I look at it is, obviously, like, look, I come from privilege. I know that. My dad worked very hard, and there was, he was in the merchant navy. So 9 months a year he was on the sea. In fact, he used to make the statement that in every family, one generation has to work hard so the future generation has it a little easier. He's like, for us, it's me. I'm the one who's going to try and build that base. Right? And he built a base. And that allows me to go and do things that he couldn't do at my age. And the same thing is true for every generation, right? You have one generation that works hard. The next generation is then gives them the luxury of doing things that the older generation didn't have. So because I have that cushion, I do things slightly differently. I take more risks in my investments. I look for things that excite me. I love investing in startups. I work with founders in different permutation combinations. I myself have worked in a startup for 9 years without worrying about, am I making money 10 years ago? I was like, no, if I make money a little late in life, it's okay. So those calls come because you have the luxury of not having to worry about a bunch of things, right? So personal finance effectively comes down to your relationship with money, the background you come from, and what role that is playing in the life you want to live, right? So for example, someone who's never lived in their own home, for them owning a home is everything, right? Someone who comes from a family where they own a lot of homes, it's immaterial. This rent versus buy debate that is most of the influencers' favorite topic. It comes because, people come from different backgrounds. For some people, owning a house is everything. So why is buying a house a bad thing for that person? It's, you get one life. You need to live it the way you want to live it. If buying a house means that much to you from a fulfillment point of view, you should definitely chase it, right? But how you chase it, etc., you need to plan. Make sure you don't kill yourself with EMI burdens. Make sure you're making money. But you can't be earning 5 lakhs a year and say, "Mujhe 5 crore ka ghar chahiye," right? Like, be realistic in what it'll do, right? So those calibrations need to happen. But effectively, personal finance for me is understand what you want out of life, what you want your money to be, and then go about planning investments, savings in that particular way.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so very basic question. What is the dumbest, what is the mistake which you see a lot of people do, let's say in their 20s or mid 30s, around this domain of managing their finance?
Yeah, nowadays I think people listen to influencers too much and just say that, oh, wo bol raha hai to correct hoga. I think that's the biggest thing that people get wrong, because you're not spending time on understanding कि आपको क्या चाहिए, right? वो कोई Instagram में अच्छा वीडियो डाल दिया saying that don't buy, rent a house, and अब आप बोल रहे हो मैं ज़िंदगी में घर नहीं खरीदूंगा. ठीक है अगर आपको घर नहीं खरीदना है, but if you had this desire कि I want to buy a house, I want mom and dad, let's say you've come from a tier 2, tier 3 town, आपको Bangalore या Bombay या Hyderabad या Delhi में घर खरीदने का सपना है, to move your parents there, don't give up on that dream because some influencers told you. So don't get influenced by surroundings, right? Because everyone comes with their own story, and everyone has a reason why they have that world view. Try to form your own view about money, and I think very few people pay time and attention to that. ना कोई बिटकॉइन में डाला तो मैं भी बिटकॉइन में डालूंगा. अभी बिटकॉइन में उसका 1 लाख रुपया जाएगा तो वो ठीक है, बिकॉज उसके पास 2 करोड़ है, आपके पास 2 करोड़ है तो फिर ठीक है, नहीं है तो then should you be putting a lakh in Bitcoin? So these questions, right? So I think the biggest thing is people tend to, peer pressure and peer influence is very big in finance, because not everyone knows about it. In a group, there'll be one guy who knows a little bit more than the others, and then in every group, we had it growing up, right? I mean, it took time for me also to learn. One guy will sound super smart and everyone's like, yaar, ye to. But you don't necessarily have to do that. I think that if people can avoid that and actually feel, if they agree with the influencer because they believe that is true, then 100%. But otherwise, just don't blindly believe what you hear.
Okay. So Akshay, why are people so scared in India, for example, investing in stock market?
I don't think people are scared. They were probably scared a generation ago.
Okay.
I mean, look at all of you. Are any of you scared of investing? No, you want to invest. Right?
They are very woke people, Akshay.
Yeah, you know, but this is the generation, right? Like everyone in your age group today, it doesn't matter which part of the country you're in. आपके पास Zerodha है, Grow है, apps हैं, आपके बैंक के apps हैं, all these influencers are there, and आपको invest करना है. When I was growing up and I was your age, I don't think I invested half as well as you guys were. I was like, दुनिया देखते हैं. And like I spent all my money on travel when I was working in London, right? But I think people are not scared today. I think it appears that way because still as a percentage of population investing, it's small. Because this, I think, is restricted to the metro cities where, you know, you work with people who talk about investing, so you want to kind of do it. Rural India, not so much. And I think it's a function of disposable income at the end of the day.
Okay.
Right? You're earning money, you live a comfortable life, you're doing a good job, you have money to invest. If people are not there yet, they're not there yet, right? People invest in other things. Not everyone in India invests in stocks. Not everyone invests in crypto.
Okay.
People continue to invest in real estate very heavily. They continue to invest in gold very heavily, right? Because हमें दिखता है वो, right? Stock market is like, you don't know, plus the odd scam keeps happening. People are scared. They're like, नहीं करना है. बैंक के FDs में अभी भी इतना पैसा पड़ा हुआ है, right? So habitual savers, there's a generation that lived a certain way. That's changing in India, because if you look at our parents or their parents, our grandparents, it was about surviving. You know, back then India as a country is getting richer today. So you guys, I think, are living in what I call the best time to be an Indian. Right? I probably missed that bus by about 10 years, but I'm still really very happy that I live in India. But the 20s, kids in their 20s today, it's the best time to be in India, right? India is growing so much. There's so much happening over here. You guys are all, you know, getting to be part of the ride from a very early stage. So as the country moves from, you know, from a developing to a developed nation over the next 20, 30 years, you guys get to ride that, right? So the beauty is this accelerated growth you're seeing, जो हम assume करते हैं when you're investing in a stock market 12% growth होगा. US and all में 12-15% नहीं होता है growth. It's slightly lesser because it's developed. So the proportionality is slightly lower. So I don't think people are scared. I think it's a shift that is beginning to happen. Okay. Because the older generation, let's say people who have the money, had the money today predominantly, have been careful with it. They didn't want to take risk because they were like secure करते हैं future को. Okay. अभी because वो cushion है सबका, आप लोगों को मुझे security की tension नहीं है. Because कुछ भी हो जाए life में, हम भूखे तो नहीं मरेंगे, सड़क पे नहीं आएंगे. These two are a certainty for our life because mom and dad, grandparents, that's why I say I come from privilege, right? There's a certain amount of cushion that we've been given. Now, equally in India, the people who are building this cushion, the same set of people are not going to take risky decisions because they're doing what our grandparents did. Okay. Right? So I think that is there. But yeah, but I think you guys are a good, there's a decent population in this country that lives in metro. And I think all three of you are like a good example of people and how you invest in your 20s, that you will invest. SIP करोगे, crypto करोगे, I'm sure crypto कर रहे हैं. तो
कर रहे हो. Let's not talk about their portfolio, okay? It is over the place.
Anything but crypto. And yeah, good man.
देखा आपने कितने responsible लोग हैं.
Because we have already lost so much there.
There you go. I was waiting for that. I'm like, इतने sensible कैसे हो गए? I'm like, you lost money already. That makes sense.
I feel people in our generation not get influenced by influencers so much, but people around us, you know.
Hey, see, the thing is, the funny part is today they are called influencers. In our generation, it was just like दोस्त ने बोला है करते हैं. We didn't have a name कि ये influencer है. But we had equal friends who used to be like stock market ना ये share ना भाई मालूम पड़ा ये मचने वाला है, तू invest कर इसमें. कुछ नहीं मचता है. It's the same thing. Crypto is the same thing. It's like, look, there are people who truly understand crypto and actually make smart bets. I think that's such a small percentage of population. There's no way in hell any of us have access to them to understand what this is, right? So it's the same thing. It just takes time for everyone to get around.
He's looking at me because very recently I made this dumb decision.
That's okay.
Okay. Akshay, बहुत important questions, ठीक है? Okay, so you're a CFO for Axio, right?
Oh, good lord.
Okay, very very big, very fancy term.
Yeah,
पर
man.
हमको ना actually पता ही नहीं है कि what does CFOs actually do. Like, just I mean I know because I really like I.
Yeah, देखो.
But these people probably don't know.
देखो बहुत simple है. The company should not go bankrupt. वो baseline से शुरू कर लो. उसके बाद 10,000 चीज़ें होती हैं. But baseline is always that. Financially, the company should be safe and sound. So your role is just to ensure that decisions that are happening in the company are taking the company forward, and if some untoward event happens, because life keeps happening all around us, there are enough fail-safe measures in the organization for you to navigate through that time period.
Okay.
It's just as vague as I'm making it right now, because like there's nothing else to it. The role just requires me to make sure the company is moving forward. And कुछ बुरा होता है, कुछ unprecedented होता है, company can survive that particular event.
क्या मतलब क्या बुरा?
कोविड आ गया. ठीक है. RBI ने बोला कि मोरेटोरियम दे दो सारे बोरोवर्स को. As in like उनको 2 महीना 3 महीना don't take उधारी from them because people were losing jobs, companies were shut, no one knew what was happening. मैं ठहरा lender. मैंने पैसे उठाए किसी से और मैंने दिए किसी को. ये आदमी मुझे देता है तो मैं लेके किसी और को देता हूँ. अभी गवर्नमेंट RBI सब ने बोला इस आदमी से तुम मत लेना पैसे 2 महीने के लिए. इस आदमी ने मुझे नहीं बोला है कि तू मत दे, वो तो उल्टा बोल रहा है प्लीज़ दो पैसा वापस. कई तो लेंडर्स ने बोले कि भाई जो देना है हम तुम्हें वो नहीं देने वाले हैं बिकॉज कोविड है. हाउ डू आई नो योर कंपनी विल सर्वाइव? बिकॉज इफ योर बोरोवर्स डिफॉल्ट then you will not get money. Then you're not in a position to pay me my money. So I don't want to lend you anymore.
Okay.
Right? Now, who saw this happening? It happened in a month. And it happened super quickly. So my job suddenly became, इधर से 100 आना है, 100 नहीं आ रहा है, 40 आना है, but इधर से 60, 80 कुछ तो देना है. तो ये बाकी का कहाँ से लेकर आऊँ मैं?
कहाँ से लेके आए आप?
Don't ask. लेकर आए. But it was enough. So, you know, look, you have some people who say, I will not give you money. There are some people who are like, you know what? I'm happy to give you money.
Okay.
So you found pockets of help. You found pockets of resilience that came through. As a company, you sat on enough. I started building a little bit of cash reserve, right? We said, thoda excess cash leke rakho.
Okay.
Just in case something happens. I think that helped. The moment people saw that, oh, you know, they have enough cash to survive 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, kuch nahi hoga, at some point normalcy will come back, etc. That gave people confidence. Some people it gave confidence that we would be okay. A lot of folks were still not sure. They were like, let's figure it out. But you know, so some amount of planning, some amount of like realizing that something might come your way. Maybe it would not be, but having that fail safe that I was talking about earlier is important.
Okay.
So it helps, right? And obviously it's not me alone. It's never like, oh, CFO ने सोचा था नहीं. You have a lot of other people who come and say, hey, you know, कुछ हो रहा है, तुम कुछ सोच रहे हो क्या इसके बारे में? शायद सोच रहे थे, अगर नहीं सोच रहे हो, then you're like, अच्छा हाँ, ये भी तो एक angle है.
Okay.
So it's the people around you. You know, everyone comes, asks you questions. They're like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And then you kind of keep taking pieces of information that you need and discard what you don't need.
Okay.
And then you come up with a plan, right?
Okay, let's start then. One second, I need to.
Rashmi, do you know his full name?
I doubt it.
Yesterday I was writing first name.
Sharma only, right?
Sarma, S-A-R-M-A, but yeah, not close enough.
Oh yeah. But we North Indians have like Sharma only. Yours is a little different.
South Indian.
What's Sarma, right?
Sarma, S-A-R-M-A.
We have Sharma.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just so I think in Assam and in the south, Sarma is the equivalent of Sharma. Now, don't ask why. I'm guessing it's a language thing.
I thought that's a joke.
No, it's not. Why is that a joke?
Why do they?
Why is that a joke? I like how you think that's a joke. It's not a joke. It's just a fact.
But this is ये record हो रहा है क्या? Let's start. I thought ये लोग कुछ figure out कर रहे हैं बैठ के. God, now I don't know where I was. Okay, anyways, let's start. Okay, so let's talk about few things. How do you keep a company afloat financially? Like, how does maybe, you know, let's consider we don't know how this entire thing happens. So how do you approach this?
Look, I'll keep it very vanilla and very simple because
Okay.
like anything, every company is different, line of businesses are different. So everyone has to do things,
Okay.
right? In a lending company for something like we do, we need money to lend, we need money to repay our loans, we need money to pay salary, and we need money to pay our expenses that go on, right?
Okay.
Which includes everything from cloud infra to marketing teams, retentions that keep coming from you guys, to any day-to-day expenses like rents, etc., etc. So our core business is we give money for loans, people pay us back,
Okay.
we earn interest, we do all these expenses, and we are supposed to be left with profit at the end of the day, right? So the job very simply is make sure that inflows and outflows are matching, the timing is matching, right? And the ability of the company to go raise money to do its activity is there. So you have investors who put in equity, you have lenders who lend. So you are constantly dancing this dance to make sure everyone is happy that the company is moving in the direction it needs to move.
Okay.
Right? So very simply put, the idea is always make sure there's enough money to carry out your day-to-day activities. Like, as vanilla as it is. It sounds boring and you'll be like, itna generic answer de raha hai. Iske niche, trust me, itna boring or complicated life hai, you guys will fall asleep while recording this. I don't think we should do it on that route at all. But very high level, the job is just like I told you, make sure that the company is afloat. And when I say afloat, I just don't mean it in a very light way, but there's money to do what the company needs to do. Okay. So let's say a year from today, the company is like, I want to do something big. मुझे कुछ नया product launch करना है. अभी product launch के लिए 10 चीजें होंगी, right? Like marketing expense चाहिए. I don't know. You want to bring Shah Rukh Khan as the brand ambassador. You want to go and hire a bunch of people because they need to do work. This takes planning.
Okay.
You need money to do this. कहाँ से आएगा? When do you have to start? What is the timeline for all of this?
Okay.
Who are the different people responsible for different things, right? So you come up with a plan and you say, okay, this is the money I have today. I can do this much with this. By this stage, I have to go figure out, get more money and then kind of build it out from there.
Okay.
So it's a lot of planning. What do you want to do a year from today? What are you doing today? And then keep charting that territory.
Understood. So now we keep hearing about, initially there was this duration when investors used to literally throw money in the market. I don't think so that's happening now, right?
No, I don't know if throwing money was, see, look, the world has gone through a lot in that time period, right? You're talking about 2021 when funding was relatively easy. What happened after 21, a few macro things happened in the world, right? The US had almost 0% interest rates for a very long time, right? So all the people with the money in the US and even Europe for that matter were looking at different parts of the country ki if I keep it in a bank here, मुझे 0% मिल रहा है.
Okay.
उससे अच्छा तो कहीं और deploy करूँ, कुछ पैसा तो बनेगा मेरा. So there was a lot of money that kind of came in the world. A lot of startups were doing very well. A lot of promise was happening. So money came to a lot of people. Then as inflation kind of increased in the US and in Europe, they started hiking interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened now is, if someone is now getting 3, 4, 5% in the US, right, in their country without any currency risk and whatnot, will they now take the same risks that they were taking earlier to deploy money in these parts of the world?
Okay.
They won't, because they're like, अरे ये तो मतलब ठीक है, I'm making money घर पे, क्यों ही बाहर का risk लेना है, right? That also coincided with the fact that a lot of macro events have happened in different countries, right? India में कुछ चल रहे हैं, Southeast Asia में कुछ चल रहा होगा, Europe में कुछ चलता है. So investors are like, अरे थोड़ा let's like see what is happening over here, right? इतना पैसा हमने दे दिया है इतने लोगों को, how are the companies doing? So suddenly everyone was like, become probably profitable. Are you looking at these business metrics, right? And these keep happening in business cycles, right? As world economics and macro events play out, because of the sudden change that you're seeing, something else becomes a priority for investors. So you need to make sure that your business is running in a manner that is conducive to that environment. Now, as someone running a business, it's very hard to constantly do something for somebody else. So the right answer always is कि यार मुझे एक business build करना है. That business, like every other business, has to make money. Am I putting, so a lot of startups have burned, right? Everyone burns money, but you're burning money for a reason.
Okay.
At some point, your business has to generate profit. Otherwise, like, what are you doing with all this money?
Okay.
Right? You're taking all this money, you're burning it up, but कुछ profit नहीं आएगा तो तुम्हारा, do enough people want your product? Are you pricing your product properly? So the core tenets of a business are always the same. So the question now becomes like, have you as a company put all that in place? So then if investors want to give you $100 million or they only give you $10 million, जो आपका core है कि मुझे एक business run करना है जो profitable होगा, that should happen. So if you stay focused on that, investors will come, investors will go, but you need to keep doing what you need to do, right? I make it sound very simple. It's not that simple. Because investors come, they put in a lot of pressure. They're like, are you growing fast enough? Are you not growing fast enough? Different expectations रहते हैं, different लोगों के. वो expectation setting is very important with them.
Okay.
So if you're able to set that expectation from an early stage, kind of draw it, figure out how this works, then it works well.
What's your go-to strategy when there are limited or very baseline funds available and you have to actually run operations and essentially have a runway of, let's say, roughly 2-3 months? So as a fintech, how do you tackle with a situation like this?
Look, fortunately we've never come to that situation.
Okay.
Where we were like, अरे 2 महीने में पैसे खत्म हो जाएंगे.
Okay.
There is literally every week I run a cash flow projections for the full year.
Oh, is it?
You have to. You can't just wake up one day in the morning and be like, अच्छा bank में कितने पैसे हैं? It doesn't work like that. You have to run it. It's a company, right? Because their employees, the salaries, every business runs for that, right? At least this is what we've been doing for 3-4 years that I've been kind of doing this. Is once a week I sit down with my team. They know the guardrails. If they see something moving up or down, they come, they tell me.
Okay.
And once a week I will look at it. The founders look at it definitely once a month, no matter how much we're sitting on, what is happening. So it's not like, it's something you look at essay.
Okay.
It's something you track very religiously, very rigorously, because see, think of it from like my perspective in this role. I don't want to be the guy who, on whose watch like the company suddenly ran out of money.
Okay.
That's like a very
bad
101 like money, right? So we constantly are trying to make sure you're never there. Okay. So even if I feel 2 months from today, there might be an event which might result in potentially us having, less than what we think we need. We immediately start taking corrective actions to make sure we have that amount of money. Right? Okay. Whatever the actions might be, go raise more, do something else, do something differently, but that is there. So there's always a forward projection of a year. And then at the end of the month, I have to even sit with my team and go like, your projection said X, but we ended up with Y. What happened?
Okay.
It might be more, it might be less, but what happened? How do we get tighter with the forecasting? How do we get tighter with our understanding of what happened? So yeah, the constant monitoring thing.
Okay. Okay, so cut my question भूल गई. How massively do you want us to edit this podcast?
A lot.
ऐसा क्या बोला है आपने अक्षय? हमने तो कुछ नहीं सुना.
Yeah, I know. आपको ऐसे लगता है, मुझे सब कुछ लगता है कि यार क्यों बोल रहा है इतना.
नहीं, हमको ऐसा कुछ नहीं लग रहा है. We'll not edit anything. Just take it as is. क्योंकि हमारे पास editor नहीं है अभी भी. I'm the one doing. Okay. How do you manage risk that's associated with handling such a large amount of investors' money? I'm assuming Axio has itself become a big fintech. So you must be managing.
Yeah, look, I think the core tenet for us every time we go raise equity, the idea is to use it for the business, right? So whenever we raise funds and the money comes in, I have to ensure the investments I make of this is not risking the principal. So for example, I cannot take it and put it in equity markets.
Okay.
Because equity markets में 100 रुपए डालो, वो 90 भी हो सकता है, वो 120 भी हो सकता है. But the idea is you stay invested long enough, it will appreciate, right?
Okay.
That is not why I'm raising equity. I'm raising equity for my business. So I will use it more in FDs. Because वहाँ पे
Safe.
Take care. Right? There will come a point in time where I go raise 1,000, 2,000 crores. Where if I'm able to raise that kind of money, even then I will make investments, but not as risky as just blindly equity mutual fund. Right? I will have to create an investment policy that will go to the board. The board will say, by the way, this is your risk appetite. You cannot invest more than X percentage in certain kind of investment. So let's say you're a company that has raised 2,000 crores.
Okay.
Depending on if you're a conservative company, let's take an example, right? The board might say, yeah, listen, not more than 5% in risky investments.
ठीक है.
वो risky को define करेंगे. तो बस आप उसमें करोगे, बाकी पैसा आप safe रखोगे. Right? Because your primary job is not to make money with the money you've raised. That money is for the core business. So you have to make sure that is constantly available.
Okay. So what is that one thing which you absolutely pay attention to when you are making a decision whether to
hire them or not?
Yes.
The only thing I look for is their desire to learn.
Okay.
In fact, none of my direct reportees, I think, come from like pedigreed universities. They all come from smaller tier 2, tier 3. But that hunger to learn is immense. The work ethic is immense. Like, कभी-कभी रात के 9, 10, 11, सुबह के 6, 7 काम है तो काम है, right? मैं कोई बड़े यूनिवर्सिटी से आया हूँ तो 9 बजे के बाद मैं काम नहीं करूँगा. Is a great thing to have. Like, I will respect work-life balance 100%, but sometimes there are days when things have to happen. So I am always looking for people with strong work ethics. I will respect your privacy 95% of the time, but there will be that 5% when things beyond my control happen and something has to be delivered, it has to be delivered.
Okay.
Right? So strong work ethics and that मैं सीखूंगा, मुझे नहीं मालूम है ये, but मैं सीखूंगा is very important for me. I don't care where you come from anymore, like it's irrelevant. Which language, what your skin color is, which university you went to, immaterial hai ye sab. Because if you have that hunger to learn, like you will go places. Okay. And for me that's important because in fact my last hire was a year ago, didn't come from an NBFC background, right? And was coming into a role where not coming from an NBFC background would actually be a problem. But the only thing he kept telling me in the interview was, मैं कर लूँगा, आप मौका दो मैं कर लूँगा. 5 बार बोला उसने इंटरव्यू में. मैंने एक बार बात किया उससे and I just called my interviewer and I said, take this guy. I'm telling you, in 1 month, the way he picked up, literally this year's review for me was, dude, like you've never done this before, but I'm very impressed with how quickly you came up the curve and how you've understood this thing. All because he had the desire and the confidence in himself कि मैं कर लूँगा. आप chance दो मैं कर लूँगा, right? So that confidence obviously exhibited, but that when he was making that statement, I could see that willingness to learn was there.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that matters. If you're willing to learn, this is not rocket science. Even rocket science, people who do rocket science, they're like, अरे यार ये तो मतलब पढ़ाई तो किया था, right? हमें लगता है कि अरे यार क्या कर दिया तुम लोगों ने? Like ये तो पढ़ाई किया था मैंने 20 साल. Of course I know what to do. It's one of those things.
Okay, Akshay.
Let's go.
Last question.
Oh, we're there.
Yeah, we are there because our storage is also not supporting.
Yeah.
Basic question. So, how do you think AI is going to change the fintech industry? I think it has started making some steps into it.
Yeah. No, I think I should caveat. I don't think I also understand wholly the how it can kind of do it. In fact, just yesterday I was someone sent me a whole repository of stuff, tools, AI tools that are now available, stuff to read on AI, what are the different models that are being built. So I'm beginning to kind of like spend some time reading, understanding what it can be. But I think the beauty of AI intuitively for me is in the ability to start personalizing things.
Okay.
And finance is one of the most personal things anyone does, right? So what product suits you? What are the patterns in your spending? What are the patterns in your income? How are you spending? Where are you spending? The ability now to present information about your spending habits, your investment habits, project what it looks like how I'm projecting the business cash flows, projecting your own personal cash flows.
Okay.
Will you'll have this much savings, assuming certain things. I think it's very exciting.
Okay.
Right? And like I told you in the beginning, one of the things I want to do is can I help people understand the relationship with money,
Okay.
right? And that comes by asking people questions, right? Putting them in situations that are true to, let's say, their life, and seeing what response they give. I think AI can play a very good role, right? Where it can literally take that response, feed it, ask the next question on its own. I need to build a large enough data set to kind of get there, but I find that very exciting. So I think the ability to personalize things is very strong in the field of finance. The other area that yesterday only we were talking at work, I think, is the ability to actually do customer service, right?
Okay.
Today, you look at Swiggy and all the chats, it's all automated to a large extent. Now you don't even have to press that. Imagine the ability to actually pick up the phone, talk, and actually have a bot driven by AI to intuitively know responses, because 90% of questions are standard.
Yeah.
So it's like very standard. So the ability to actually make that more interactive and make someone feel like they're talking to a human being,